The 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria created the National Assembly as a legislative arm of government to make necessary laws that will enhance good governance at all levels in the country. With a membership of 469 assemblymen and women democratically elected as both representatives at both the upper and lower chambers of the legislative houses, the 8th National Assembly, which was inaugurated in June of 2015, has been performing their duties in line with the provision of the 1999 Constitution as amended. As the 8th Assembly gradually winds down its activities to pave way for the inauguration of the next Republic, following a successful conclusion of the 2019 general elections, how well did they fare in the discharge of their legislative duties? What are the issues that will shape the 9th Assembly? Our major focus on this episode of Nigeria Today. I am Charles Ibe.
I pledge to Nigeria, my country. So goes the opening lines of the 6th-line National Pledge of Nigeria. Today, not a few, whether young or old, merely recite the National Pledge as a matter of routine or tradition, with their hearts being poles apart from the very spirit, creed, and essence of the pledge. Many simply do not understand its purport or feel the import of it, while many others choose to observe the pledge in breach only. Today we have decided to walk on the footpath of the very words of the National Pledge, keeping its vision and essence in our hearts, in our souls, and in our minds.
I pledge to Nigeria, my country,
to be faithful,
loyal, and honest,
to serve Nigeria with all my strength,
to defend her unity,
and uphold her honor and glory.
So help me God.
I had a conversation with a member of the 8th National Assembly who had been in the legislative business for over a decade in the House of Representatives, where he currently serves and has made quite an impact, and will also be making his way back into the 9th Assembly, this time as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Talking about Honourable Orkev Jev, representing BURUKU Federal Constituency of BENUE State. And he gave us his analysis of the performance of the 8th National Assembly, as well as what to expect when the 9th Assembly takes off come June 2019.
I speak on behalf of the North Central. The North Central, I should remind you, is made up of 6 states and the federal capital, and we have 51 members on the floor. I bring message of solidarity from the North Central to the leadership of the House of Representatives under Speaker Dogara, and indeed the leadership of the National Assembly.
I have to start with congratulations on your success at the polls. You'll be moving from one level of the National Assembly to the next higher level of the National Assembly. From our team, the Television Nigeria, we say congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your coming around.
Thank you, sir. Now, our focus is actually on the National Assembly. The 8th Assembly will soon be wrapping up, and by June, we will be welcoming in the 9th Assembly, hoping to take Nigeria forward. Now, before we proceed, can we have your candid assessment of the 8th National Assembly from inception till the present?
Well, it depends on what you are looking at. If you look at Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution, it stipulates the functions of the legislature, which is lawmaking, oversight, and representation. To that extent, I don't think we have fared badly, because I happen to be a member of the 6th Assembly, the 7th Assembly, and now the 8th Assembly. So I'm in a position to compare. Particularly that I was the chairman of Rules and Business for 3.5 years of the House of Representatives. So I was in custody of the materials of the House as far as the record keeping is concerned. I happen to know that in the first year alone of the 8th Assembly, we passed over 100 bills. almost more than, and we had about 600 bills that were gazetted for processing, I mean, for the 8th Assembly, more than the entire 4 years of the 6th Assembly. You know, I'm no longer the chairman of Rules and Business, but I know that by now we should have passed more than 200 bills into law. Of course, it's unfortunate that several of them have not been signed by the president for some reasons. But if we are judging by the number of bills that were passed, I think we have done very well. Okay. We gave ourselves, that is the 8th Assembly, House of Representatives, we gave ourselves a document known as the Legislative Agenda for the 8th Assembly. And one of the highlights of that document was that we will step up the oversight function of the legislature. So I can't say that we have fared too well in that area. It may not entirely be our fault, because I've always said that because the least developed arm of government is the legislature, possibly because of frequent interferences. Anytime there was a military coup, it was the first to go. The judiciary was still there, the executive was still there, but the legislature will go. So it has not been developed to the extent of the other two arms of government. So people are very suspicious of the roles that they are expected to play. If you go for oversight, the impression one has is that we are prognosing, we are trespassing on the other arms of government. And so they treat us as trespassers. It will take quite a while for Nigerians to understand the role of the legislature when it comes to oversighting. So because of that suspicion that we have there, I'm not too proud of our achievement in that area, but more can still be done. So generally we have not fared too badly. You could point to the area of the frosty relationship between the executive and the legislature, because I can't say in all good conscience that we performed too well. It may not be our fault, because the legislature the executive had attempted to impose its will on the legislature as far as the issue of who hears the National Assembly. Because of the manner that the Speaker and the Senate President emerged, there has been that mutual suspicion, and it looks like somebody has not forgiven or forgotten, and that has affected the relationship. We shouldn't be so. We are supposed to, even though the executive arm of government appears to be #1 in terms of hierarchy, because the president is the #1 if you're talking about protocol, but we need each other in order for any government to survive. The legislature is part of the government, the executive and the judiciary, we are all part of one government. If the government, if any fails, it means the government has failed. So one is hoping that in the incoming 9th Assembly, we will have a better deal as far as this issue is concerned.
Okay. Thank you very much. I've actually touched cross-section of what I really wanted to ask you. But still, on the relationship between the legislature, it's actually very, very key. Yeah, there should be, while maintaining that cordial relationship, but there also should be that check and balances. Because I believe that is the sole rooms of having them as independent entities, but also cross-linked in terms of delivering the dividends of democracy to the generality of Nigerians. Now, from your experience, you've been quite a while in the legislature. What, moving forward, especially in that area of relationship between the executive and the legislature, what specific areas do you think needs to be tightened to ensure that that cordial relationship doesn't affect governance, delivery of good governance to people?
I've said it before elsewhere, and I'll say it again here, that when you have a different arm of government, you leave it to take care of its own. The manner the executive seeks to interfere in the emergence of leadership in the National Assembly is unacceptable. Even a kindergarten school, if you go there and impose a leader on them, perhaps they may have nothing to do about it, but they will grumble. Here we're talking about a group of mature people eminent people in their own right, well-established people in their own right, elected to come and work together in an institution like the National Assembly, and somebody somewhere will seek to impose who should be their leader on them. It will not work. If that is not sorted out, I'm sorry that we will have the same thing all over again. You cannot continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. This has happened before and it didn't work. I remember in the 6th Assembly, during Obasanjo's time, the Mrs. Sete was practically imposed on the House of Representatives. She didn't last more than 5 months. In the 7th Assembly, the House of Representatives resisted that attempt to impose a speaker on them. And you could see that in spite of whatever failings, whatever inadequacies Speaker Tambo may have had, he lasted the whole tenure. And so if you leave people to choose their leaders, they will be less demanding. There will be more understanding of even his faults.
Yes.
You know, but if you impose a speaker or a leader or Senate president, whichever one is applicable, they will be suspicious. Every failing will be seen to have been coming from external forces. Yes. So we are going into in 2 months' time we'll be choosing our leaders again, both in the House and in the Senate. Allow the people to choose their leaders and live to learn with the consequences of choosing the bad leader if the leader turns out to be a bad leader. But the moment it comes from outside, no matter how good it is, people will always be suspicious of whatever motives, whatever moves that he makes. That is the first and basic step, in my opinion, of having a good relationship with the executive. I think a lot of other things will follow.
Yes, in that vein, when you look at the way politics is run in Nigeria and also elsewhere, you find out that people get elected on platforms. Like you are elected on the platform of a political party. And then when you come to the House, you're supposed to have majority party and the majority party that has a majority seats and all of that. And then we talk about the majority having, because Nigerian politics to a larger extent, winner takes it all. So there's a school of thought that basically most of this problem arises because there has not been a clear demarcation of where does party allegiance ends and the Nigerian entity start off when you come to this floor of the House of Assembly. That's why you see a leadership that maybe the executive, the party will want to have its way.
This is silly politics. Even the law is clear cut. If you look at section 50, subsection 1A of the Constitution, it says that there shall be a president and senate president who shall be chosen from among the members of that house. Yes. Paragraph B says the same thing in respect to the Speaker of the House of Representatives. It doesn't mention party. But if you look at the rules, the standing rules of both the House and the Senate, it goes on. When it comes to majority leader, it has to come from the majority party. When it comes to, you cannot be a member of the majority party and be a minority leader, and vice versa. So the laws, both the Constitution and the standing rules of both houses are very clear. So it is the interpretation and ego tripping that makes people begin to say, this is the leader. Any party that hopes to micro-zone a party position will come to grief sooner than later. You can see what the APC chairman did has brought a lot of controversy. First, the controversy is even amongst members of his own party, not yet the opposition. They are the ones that are complaining. We are not even complaining. I happen to be a member of the PDP, and we are not complaining yet. We are just watching the scene. That if they had managed it well, there will be no such complaints. Okay? If the PDP that has a comfortable majority to place a speaker in the House of Representatives and have a Senate president, if they did their homework and came out with one individual for both positions, they will have their way, even if the whole of the opposition ganged up against them. But they are having issues because they have not managed it well. And micro-zoning is not the best. Just zone into one geopolitical zone, say this is coming to North Central, and then you allow members from that zone to test their popularity. Or if indeed you want to micro-zone, go behind closed doors and try to persuade the others to step down for the others. You don't go before the media and make it headlines. People will resent because everybody has been appointed, has been elected here to come and represent his constituency. And you know, like they normally say, that the friends of political parties are very short. People cross over easily and cross over the other side. If you think you twist, people will easily leave your party and go to the other way. Because politics or political parties here are not, I'm sorry to say, are not based on ideology. So it's just a mere platform for winning elections. We'll get to a point, like in America, when you have the Democrats, when you say somebody is a Democrat, you know what it stands for.
Exactly.
When you say he's a Republican, you know what it stands for. We don't have any such commitment here.
It all boils down to internal party democracy.
Exactly.
Getting it right at the party level. Now, moving forward, you will be moving on to the Senate. And I believe as a member of the House of Representatives, you must have been keenly following what has been happening in the Senate and elsewhere in the National Assembly. Moving into the Senate is going to be a new, not entirely new because it's still the National Assembly, lawmaking and all of that. You have your own, there's a synergy between the two houses. Now, what specifically will be different in the 9th Assembly?
Well, I hope I knew what would be different. I don't know yet. First, I have to know the shape and tenor of the leadership will emerge. That will determine the direction of things to move. If you have somebody who's a lackey of the president or the executive or government, I'm sorry, not much will be achieved. If you have somebody who will strike that balance between a good relationship, a good rapport with the presidency, and also with his colleagues here, of course, I know that a lot will be achieved because no matter how good you are, if you don't have the support or the confidence of your colleagues, you will not carry the House or the Senate any much further than you made it. So that is critically important. I know that the House and the Senate are basically the same. Their functions are basically the same. The only difference I know between the Senate and the House is when it comes to screening presidential appointees. Other than that, everything that they do in the Senate is done in the House of Representatives. So I don't think I'll be moving to an unfamiliar territory. It's somewhere, so I hope I'll cope, and I hope that the leadership that emerges will be such that will take the National Assembly and indeed the nation to greater heights. All right,
Nigerians are expectant right now that when the new government takes off, both the national level, the executive and the National Assembly, there are going to be changes. From the conduct of the elections that brought in, that's going to bring in this 9th Assembly, a lot of flaws has been noticed, and many people are pointed in the direction of the Electoral Act, the reforms of the Electoral Act, the one that was passed by the National Assembly, the versions that the President assented to, and all of that. Now, in the 9th Assembly, do you think there's going to be a focus to make sure that they get it right, so that our elections and processes going forward will be flawless?
When we went to collect our certificate of return, the INEC chairman gave the charge that one of our priorities should be reformation of the electoral processes. Yes. That is the Electoral Act. Something we have done. On 4 occasions, the president refused to assent to that piece of legislation. Why? I don't know. On every occasion, those issues that were pointed out as loopholes were corrected and taken back. And so it became very clear to some of us that the whole thing was tainted with politics. Maybe the president felt that if certain things were done, the election may not come out the way they felt it should come out. Good enough, the president has won for a second time. I'm sure that the National Assembly will be going back with electoral reformation top on its agenda, even though I'm not speaking for anybody, but I know that everybody, most of the members and my would-be colleagues that have been interacting with are concerned about some of the flaws that we noticed during the last election. So I expect that should top the agenda of things to do in the incoming 9th Assembly. The Constitutional Amendment has always been an ongoing process. A lot of things that people felt should happen didn't happen, like devolution of powers. I know there are segments of this country that have always consistently been talking about devolution of powers. I know that what is dear to some of us that didn't happen in the last exercise, like autonomy of the local government and autonomy of the state assembly, they didn't happen. So we are hoping that these things will come up very early in the day, and so that before the end of the tenure of the incoming National Assembly, some of these things would have been sorted out. But like I said, that is why you have a legislature. It's not something that is done and over with in any one particular assembly. It has to be ongoing. But if you prioritize, I think you get some of those things that bother the people most and leave the rest for incoming generations to take care of.
All right, and so let's also look at the issue. You did mention that the 8th Assembly didn't really do too well in terms of oversight. And then let's look at the critical sectors like security, health, education. Oversighting these sectors, what really are the challenges in those sectors, and how do you think they could be done?
I think I've already mentioned the basic challenge, the lack of cooperation from the executive arm of government. I know that as chairman rules and business, at the last count we had about 79 motions on insecurity across the country, brought by members, about the highest motions on any one topic, subject matter. 79, and I'm talking about the second quarter of last year, you know, the highest. Now, at a point we called, pursuant to a motion that was moved, we called all the heads of the security agencies around. We called all of them to an in-house meeting, and we stayed there for 4 to 5 hours. And from the meeting, we thought that the insecurity will abate. Unfortunately, things appear to go on as before. So I don't know where we have gone wrong, because we told them, tell us what you think we can do from our own end to make this thing go down, the amount of insecurity that we have across the country. And but when you hear the executive arm of government talk, the president talk, it's as if when we're talking about insecurity in this country, we're talking about Boko Haram alone. No. If you go to BENUE, people, like you remember in 2018, January, over 70-something persons were killed in one day by the herdsmen. So herdsmen is not just restricted to BENUE, it's across a lot of other places. Kidnapping is also a big problem, not only in BENUE, but also in several other places. But insecurity is not just about saying we have recovered land from the Boko Haram people. No, recovering land, okay, we'll clap for you, but nobody is happy when they can't go to their farms. Nobody is happy when they can't send their kids to school, and several other aspects of insecurity that we're experiencing today. So we thought we did our best. And don't forget the limitations of a legislature. There's not much you can sometimes shout, and but you cannot implement the laws. You cannot execute your motions, the resolutions, or even the laws that you pass. It is left to the executive to do that. And so when I mentioned 79, it is to underscore the fact that we took that area as a matter of priority. And yet, I'm not too happy, I'm not too sure that we've gotten to where we should be clapping for ourselves. So the executive, once again, I say, should take the matter of oversight very, very seriously. We are partners in progress. We are not interlopers, we are not trespassers. We are a different arm of government, and the sooner they begin to look at us in that light, the better for the polity.
All right. And finally, the president did mention recently about tourism, medical tourism. So I think the healthcare for Nigeria is another critical sector that the oversight should be priority for this 9th Assembly.
I don't know if the president says is worried about medical tourism, then he should lead by example. The president is the first to jet out anytime he feels sick. And so when you are doing that and you expect others not to do it, I think, I don't want to use the word hypocrisy, but I think it's neither here nor there. Leaders that want people to follow do it by example, not by preaching. Okay? Nobody who thinks he has access to the best medical attention in the country will want to waste his money by going outside. If I want to go for the nomad tourism, I know where to go. It's not to go and treat myself. If people go out there because they think that they don't have such facilities around, or they don't have the kind of attention that they get outside there. So somebody that is sick, that could ordinarily spend $5,000 within the country, won't mind spending $1 million if he can afford it, knowing that that amount will, will fetch him his good health. So people do that because they think we don't have the facilities here. So the president complaining, he's in a position to do something about it. Let him do it.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, finally, come May 29, we are going to have a new government, and by June we are going to have the 9th Assembly come into place. Now I want you to speak to Nigerians right now. We just finished elections. There are still some, the losers are there, the winners are rejoicing, and then we'll be having court processes and all of that might uphold or upturn the system, as the case might be. Now, to speak to Nigerians, if you are aggrieved or if you are rejoicing, and then to the electorate on embracing the Nigerian-ness of the whole entity. Politics is all about getting sure that everyone is carried along and good dividends are delivered to Nigeria. In your own way.
Well, I think ultimately politicians are all working for the people, so we claim. So whether you are a winner or you are a loser, it depends on your attitude that could actually sit down to the electorate. If your attitude, if you are a bad loser, I mean, ultimately the people will pay for it. If you are a bad winner, because there are bad winners too, you don't have to show it somebody's throat that yes, I won, you can go to hell. This is like a game. And so my appeal to all of us politicians, especially those of us who go out there to compete, is that it's like a football game. You go there to win, but if you lose, that is the essence of the game. Ultimately, we should consider that the people who voted us expected that win or lose, we are for them.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
I have been speaking with Honourable Orkev Jev, member representing BURUKU Federal Constituency in BENUE State. And it has been a wonderful time talking with him. He's sharing his experience with the 8th Assembly and also his expectations for the 9th Assembly. That is the size of our package on Nigeria today. Thanks for watching. I am Charles Ibe.